Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, back in my old neighborhood and Council Flaherty's old neighborhood. The Flahertys live right down O'Connor Way. Take a left, first courtyard down there on the right. McGonagall's with 2 courtyards down on the right. So it's a pleasure to be back here. I spent many, many hours on that basketball court as a young man and as a teenager, and it's wonderful to be back in my old neighborhood. Before we begin, I would like to call for a brief moment of silence. Today is, as we may know, is a National Day of Mourning, and a moment of silence in honor of the passing of our past President, George Herbert Walker Bush. Thank you. Again, I'm delighted to be here. Very exciting day to celebrate the groundbreaking of 46 affordable elderly housing units for the seniors of this community, of this neighborhood. Sorely needed affordable housing for seniors in this neighborhood, and I'm delighted to introduce our first speaker, whose support for this program, this endeavor, this program, was there right from the very beginning. Today's groundbreaking is an example of our mayor's commitment to the use of public land to develop affordable housing, and his financial contributions through the IDP program and through the subsidies that the BHA are providing will make this a wonderful elderly community. We'll have services on site as well. So I'm delighted to introduce our mayor and a champion of affordable housing in the city. Please, a warm welcome for Mayor Martin Walsh.
Thank you, Billy. And I want to thank Billy. I want to thank everyone for coming out today. I want to thank the folks that are behind me. I want to thank Congressman Lynch for his great work that he does. And we were talking before. Stephen said that he didn't think this spot was so big, and I agree with you. I didn't think it was this big. And if we knew it was this big, we probably would have put 350 units on here, but we didn't know. So thank you, Congressman, for that. I want to thank City Council Michael Flaherty, also State Representative David Beal. We have with us today, City Council Eddie Flynn. Then I want to thank the councilor. I had conversations with all these folks, and what we talk about all the time is quality of life of folks, and we talk about development in the city of Boston, and sometimes people are concerned and critical of the development. Along with City Council Frank Baker's with us, and this is a project that actually is a great project. I mean, no one can complain about this, and I want to thank the elected officials, all the elected officials that are with us today, for their advocacy in making sure that we continue to move forward to give everyone an opportunity to live in the city of Boston. I want to thank Donna Brown from the South Boston Neighborhood Development Corporation, who's a partner here, and I'll let Billy talk about that. Mark Winkeller from Caritas Communities. I want to thank you, Mark, as well, for being here today. I want to thank Sheila Dillon, Chief of Housing for the City of Boston, and all the folks that are here today. Anyone who had anything to do with this project, thank you. I could probably name everyone that's in this park today. I want to thank you all for being part of something really special. This land has been sitting vacant for over 50 years, and I want to thank SBNC and Caritas for being co-developers in this project. It's a long-time partnership in bringing many more affordable units to the different neighborhoods in our city, and particularly here today. One of the central points of our housing plan is creating opportunities for senior housing. And the reason why we did a housing plan was in 2014 we inherited from the city, and not anyone in particular, just the city, that we were growing. People wanted to move into our city, people were buying homes, and people were being pushed out of homes, and it was all the investments made in our city that people were excited about the city of Boston. They want to be here. So we decided to take a housing plan and kind of go big with it and create a housing plan that had to create 53,000 units of new housing by the year 2030. And we broke it into different areas of housing by building student housing in the Kenmore area, in the Mission Hill area, and around Calm Avenue area, to get people out of, in Austin Brighton, to get people out of the houses in the neighborhoods, open that housing stock back up for families, and force and ask colleges to build housing dorms. That was one aspect of it. The second aspect of it was to take city-owned land and property, and how do we best develop it, and how do we get some of those out there to build affordable housings, 1 and 2 and 3 family houses, and allow people first-time home buyer opportunities to do that. And Sheila's shop was able to get that out there, and I think we built about 400 units so far, 480 units of 1 and 2 and 3 family housings around the city of Boston. for home buyers. Another aspect is senior housing, creating more opportunities for our seniors, because we felt that if seniors that live in an apartment today or own a home and they have an opportunity to maybe sell their home or rent their home out or allow families to go into their home, where do we put our seniors? We want to keep them in the city of Boston. And that's what an example is here. It's creating affordable housing, especially for our seniors, is so important. And it is a top priority. And we want to make sure that they can stay in their neighborhoods and live with dignity. And in this neighborhood right here, seniors can walk to stores, seniors can walk to Dunkin' Donuts, seniors can walk to the park, seniors can walk to the beach, seniors can walk to the train stations. It's all in this neighborhood, and it's a perfect location for people that are older Bostonians that are very active still, that want to be part of our community, and that's what this project really does. And I want to thank everyone for making this happen. We're seeing our demand for housing grow. We're seeing our population grow. We're on track right now in Boston. Our original goal was, we thought we were going to have 700,000 people in the city of Boston by the year 2030. Right now, our goal for 2030, we're going to have 760,000 people living in the city of Boston. And we have to continue to think about making sure that we have a diversity of housing for the folks that want to live in the city of Boston. We must be prepared for this growth, and we need to make sure there are housing options for every single person that wants to live in the city of Boston. As I mentioned earlier, we upped our housing goal from 53,000 to 69,000 units by the year 2030. But most importantly in that plan, we raised our target for affordability in that plan. We were really focusing on the affordability aspect of it. We were able to make some changes with inclusionary development to raise over $100 million already since we've changed it. The Community Preservation Act was passed by the voters here in Boston a couple of years ago. We're able to get some money on that as well to be able to build more affordable housing and more housing that people can live in. And we need to continue to create affordable housing and address these problems. And I know I had a conversation with Congressman Lynch not too long ago, and one of his hopes was that if the Democrats had the opportunity to win back the Congress, they actually could work on a housing plan that works for all Americans across the United States of America. We are not alone, and I want to thank the congressman who committed, saying we need to do this. And he, like more than most of us, he goes around the country and he sees what's happening in other places. And wherever you go, we can close our eyes and show up in Iowa, we can show up in Wisconsin, we can show up in Alabama, we can show up in Mississippi. The issue that we're facing with here, building a housing, affordable housing, is the same issue across the United States of America. So Congress, I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank you for what you're going to do. This project is going to bring 46 one-bedroom units for income-eligible seniors. It's going to bring amenities, as I said, to transportation. I want to thank the Boston Housing Authority. I want to thank Billy McGonigal, who honestly is an incredible leader here. He's providing 22 vouchers to provide long-term funding for very low-income units, in addition to generously donating this land. So we're taking a piece of land. We're investing 22 vouchers. The city of Boston is putting our money where our mouth is, saying this is exactly what we have to do. And we're excited about this. So I want to, again, thank everyone. This is not easy. Putting a project like this together is not easy. And Donna Brown and the South Boston Neighborhood Development Corporation has been doing projects like this for a long time and working. It takes a while. But I want to thank you, Donna. I want to thank you, Mark. And I want to thank you, Billy and Sheila, for continuing to push. We're going to push. People are going to push us. We're going to push out so that we can do more of these groundbreakings to make sure that the people that built this city, that grew up in this city, that raised their family in this city, that want to stay in this city, can stay in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next speaker, I'm delighted that Congress is in session for the moment, and he's not down in D.C., so he's back in the neighborhood here with us. He certainly needs no introduction in this neighborhood and in his district. He, too, is a product of public housing, the Ann M. Lynch homes across the way on the other side of the Rotary here. So, and as the mayor mentioned, the congressman was here last summer at Ann Lynch Homes with Congressman Jeffries from New York, announcing the Democratic plan for ensuring that there was adequate financing and financial commitment to affordable housing if the Democrats had taken control of the House, and I'm delighted to say that, as we all know, that did happen. So it's a pleasure to have him in the neighborhood, back from D.C., our congressman, my congressman, Congressman Stephen Lynch.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, thank you for your kind remarks. Councilor Baker, Councilor Flynn, Councilor Flaherty, my colleagues in government, Representative David Beal. I don't want to repeat everything that the mayor said, although I agree with all of it. You know, 46 units of housing for people 62 and over works for a guy who's 63 years old. And we do need, the mayor is spot on, as usual, with the focus on our seniors and making sure they have an opportunity to stay in the community. Between Southie and Dorchester, we have 25,000 seniors who would qualify for this housing. Almost 50%, 48% of those seniors rent. They're in rental housing. So you realize as people get older, you retire, how do you maintain you know, the ability to pay your rent when the rents keep going up and you're in rental housing? So the 22 vouchers that Bill McGonigal is providing, and the great work that is being done here. There's also been sort of a linkage on a couple of accounts. The mayor and Sheila Dillon were kind enough to link us up with John Cronin's project off-site, so that John Cronin is paying into this project rather than trying to build you know, affordable housing on another site, you know, down near the waterfront. This is our neighborhood. This is our neighborhood, and there's a real connection here, especially for seniors. You know, like the mayor was saying, being able to walk down to Dunkin' Donuts, being able to walk up the street to the supermarket. They maintain that intimate connection. So I want to thank John Cronin. And also, I'm on the Financial Services Committee, which covers housing. And TD Bank also was very helpful with us on giving us a grant, and we want to thank TD Bank for their kindness as well. Very generous. So we've got a great opportunity here. I think that this is part of the mayor's plan, and you know, I fully endorse it. I think that he's got to, you know, coming from the neighborhoods as he does, looking at his own family, and you know, the course of their lives in Dorchester, and just trying to maintain that fabric in the family and making sure that people can stay in the same community. He gets it, and we're blessed to have him. And I 100% endorse everything that's going on here. We've got a lot of work to do. I do want to say that Hakeem Jeffries, who is our partner here in South Boston and Dorchester on affordable housing, was just elected a week ago to the head of the Democratic caucus. So he understands public housing. He grew up in public housing like I did, and we couldn't have a better partner. And I actually do think that with the Democratic takeover of the House, we will reintroduce and reinvigorate the mission of public housing in our country. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Congressman. Before I introduce our next speaker, I'd like to recognize a few folks that are here with us today. Kate Bennett from the BHA, there's Kate. I often say that, and I say it because it's true, is that she's the brains at the BHA. Let us all be aware of that, and we would certainly not be here today without her effort working with our co-developers here. I'd also like to recognize Yolanda Dela Cruz, the new Executive Director of South Boston and Action. They're working very vigorously with our residents in all three of our family public housing developments here in Southie. And our next speaker, it's a pleasure for me to introduce Donna Brown, the Executive Director of the South Boston Community Neighborhood Development Corporation. Donna has been at this for several years. She has, in addition to this project, she is responsible with Mark, with the Patriots Homes, the veterans housing that we have up on D Street, and her commitment to this neighborhood and to ensuring, as the mayor and the congressman said, that folks that have lived in this neighborhood are able to stay in this neighborhood. Elderly folks that have built this neighborhood, built this city, can stay in this neighborhood. In addition to her commitment to South Boston neighborhood development, she's also a neighbor. She lives here in South Boston, so I'm delighted to introduce our development partner. Please a warm welcome for Donna
Thank you, all of you for braving a chilly morning and joining us here today. It's so exciting to be here at this site. So this site was, you know, almost discovered by accident. I was looking to buy for South Boston and DC a building nearby and walked around the corner and saw this site that was kind of overgrown, had a bit of a fence around it, and looked up who owned it, and it was the Boston Housing Authority. And so I reached out to Bill McGonigal and his team, and they were very open to the idea of exploring an RFP process to sell the site for affordable housing. So we partnered once again with Caritas Communities and put in an application and were awarded the site. And I think the process that we went through just gives so much credit to the BHA for recognizing, and when a lot of people don't recognize, that there is such huge value in the public housing portfolio across the United States, but especially here in Boston, where there are little scraps of land here and there, and boy, if they have any more in Southie, we will find them and use them for affordable housing. But I think it's an example that for housing authorities throughout Massachusetts and throughout the rest of the country to take a look at what they have right there in their cities in places that really need more affordable housing and to take advantage of that. And I give so much credit to Bill and Kate Bennett and Joe Bamberg and Dean Papamitriou from his staff, who have been a pleasure to work with through this process and have really demonstrated what can be done. And that's where we are today. And it's so thrilling to be here and be able to tell that story. So I also want to acknowledge our partner, Caritas Communities. Again, this is the third deal we've done with Caritas, and we will create over 80 units of housing together when we're done with this project, and we hope to do many more together. We partnered with the Cronin Group, with John Cronin and Michael Knievy, to leverage the affordable housing IDP commitment from the waterfront, and also combined it with Tishman Spire's Pier 4 waterfront development to take those funds, and I totally agree that we should have a diversified waterfront, but this leveraged an affordability that you just can't get to when you keep those units on site on the waterfront. So it also is going to create affordable senior housing so that BHA residents who are overhoused, who may have raised their families and are in a building in Mary Ellen McCormick or another BHA property where they're in a walk-up unit and they're aging, that they can apply for these units here and not only move to housing that's more suitable for aging seniors, but also free up those units for families that really need them. So we just feel like this is a win all the way around, and we're so thrilled to have a mayor who supports an affordable housing mission here in this city. No matter when we have a project, it's D&D staff, BHA staff, the mayor's office, our elected officials are there supporting us, and that is what makes these projects happen. So I want to introduce Mark Winkeller, who's going to acknowledge some more of our funders, and thank you again for being here today.
Thank you, Donna. I won't talk as long. It's cold. I'm cold. But as everyone knows who's involved in affordable housing, it takes a lot of people to get this done. It takes a lot of institutions and a lot of people. I just want to run through a few names, because one thing we all know, it's easy to credit an actual entity, but there are people who do the work. And so I think that some of those folks, I'm certainly going to leave out some names, I apologize, but at DHCD, Kate, Dan Tobine, Janelle Chan, Rockland Trust, Ricky Rada and Heidi Yates, Boston Capital, our partner to another transaction, Peter Flynn and Con Hilton, Mass Development, who issued the bonds, Tony Fracasso. We thank Tishman. Farnsworth Trust Foundation has also been a supporter. I think Donna has really summed this up pretty well. We've done 3 projects together on public land. We've done housing that some people thought would not get done, and we've been able to house people who ordinarily would be driven out of the neighborhood, because anybody who's familiar with the real estate market knows South Boston is a hotbed of development, a hotbed of rising rents, and the people who grew up there, and many people live there today, the incomes aren't going up to keep pace. It just can't happen. So we are delighted to partner with Donna. We're delighted to partner with all of you who are involved with us. It's been a long struggle, but we got it done. And can't wait to see you guys at the ground ribbon cutting, which is even more exciting. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mark. The mayor and the congressman have already recognized our elected officials that are here today. I would like to thank them for coming, but I would also like to recognize Senator Nick Collins. He texted me this morning. He is not feeling well. There's some bug going through the family, so he is at home. But I did want to thank him as well for his support for this program. So at this juncture, we're going to this 6 shovels. No fighting over who gets a shovel. I don't want anybody whacking anybody with a shovel. Why don't some of the funders, John Cronin, I'm sure some of the other folks who come up here at least get in the photo op. So let's take a shot at the groundbreaking.
1, 2, 3. All right, there you go.